Herodotus on the construction of the Great Pyramid, from History, Book 2. Till the death of Rhampsinitus, the priests said, Egypt was excellently governed and flourished greatly. But after him Cheops succeeded to the throne, and plunged into all manner of wickedness. He closed the temples, and forbade the Egyptians to offer sacrifice, compelling them instead to labor, one and all, in his service. Some were required to drag blocks of stone down to the Nile, from the quarries in the Arabian range of hills. Others received the blocks after they were conveyed in boats across the river, and drew them to a range of hills called the Libyan. 100,000 men labored constantly, and were relieved every 3 months by a fresh lot. It took 10 years' oppression of the people to make the causeway for the conveyance of the stones, a work not much inferior, in my judgment, to the pyramid itself. This causeway was 5 furlongs in length, 10 fathoms wide, and in height, at the highest part, 8 fathoms. It was built of polished stone, and is covered with carvings of animals. To make it took 10 years, as I said, or rather to make the causeway, the works of the mound where the pyramid stands, and the underground chambers were Cheops intended as vaults for his own sepulchre. These last were built on a sort of island, surrounded by water introduced from the Nile by a canal. The pyramid itself was 20 years in building. It is a square, 800 feet each way, and the height the same, built entirely of polished stones, perfectly joined. No stone is less than 30 feet in length. The pyramid was built in steps, battlement-wise, as it is called, or, according to others, altar-wise. After laying the stones for the base, they raised the remaining stones in their place by means of machines formed of short wooden planks. The first machine raised them from the ground to the top of the first step. On this there was another machine, which relieved the stone upon its arrival, and conveyed it to the next step, whence a third machine advanced it still higher. Either they had as many machines as there were steps in the pyramid, or possibly they had but a single machine, which being easily moved, was transferred from tier to tier as the stone rose. Both accounts are given, and therefore I mention both. The upper portion of the pyramid was finished last, then the middle, and finally the part which was lowest and nearest the ground. There is an inscription in Egyptian characters on the pyramid which records the quantity of radishes, onions, and garlic consumed by the laborers who constructed it, and I perfectly well remember that the interpreter who read the writing to me said that the money expended in this way was 1,600 talents of silver. If this then is a true record, what a vast sum must have been spent on the iron tools used in the work, and on the feeding and clothing of the laborers, considering the length of time the work lasted, which has already been stated, and the additional time, no small space, I imagine, which must have occupied by the quarrying of the stones, their conveyance, and the cutting of the underground canal. The wickedness of Cheops reached to such a pitch that, lacking funds, he placed his own daughter in a brothel, with orders to procure him a certain sum. How much I cannot say, for I was not told. She procured it, however, and at the same time, bent on leaving a monument which should perpetuate her own memory, she required each man to make her a present of a stone. With these stones she built the pyramid, which stands midmost of the 3 that are in front of the Great Pyramid, measuring along each side 150 feet. Cheops reigned, the Egyptians said, 50 years, and was succeeded at his demise by Chephren, his brother. Chephren imitated the conduct of his predecessor, and like him built a pyramid, which did not, however, equal the dimensions of his brother. Of this I am certain, for I measured them both myself. It has no subterraneous apartments, nor any canal from the Nile to supply it with water, as the other pyramid has. In that, the Nile River, introduced through an artificial duct, surrounds an island, where the body of Cheops is said to lie. Chephren built his pyramid close to the Great Pyramid of Cheops, but he lowered the height 40 feet. For the foundation he employed the many-colored stone of Ethiopia. These 2 pyramids stand both on the small hill, an elevation not far short of 100 feet in height. The reign of Chephren lasted 56 years, they said. Thus the affliction of Egypt endured for the space of 106 years, during the whole of which time the temples were shut down and never opened. The Egyptians so detest the memory of these kings that they do not much like even to mention their names. Hence they commonly call the pyramids after Herodotus, a shepherd who at that time fed his flocks about the plain.